Okay, so this is a video response to Dan Friedman 717. I recently watched one of his newer videos, and he asked a question to black women, and I'm not a mother, so I can't answer it from that perspective, but I am the product of a single mother, and the way I see it is, I don't think boys suffer more than girls. I think it depends on the situation. I also think they suffer in different ways. Now, why is that, you may ask? Well, me being the firstborn child, usually the firstborn child, you become the parent, the second parent that is missing. I don't know, I guess if the boy and the girl are close in age, maybe the boy becomes the second parent, but in my instance, I became the second parent. I took care of my brother when my mom went to work, and when I was of age to work, I started working. I've always had to maintain an honors standing. I've always had this need to get approval from my mother, and she's always seemed to not like me, or just treat me differently than she does my brother. Now, I used to think maybe it's my fault, but I think she has her own issues. Maybe she just sees something in me that's in her, or maybe she sees how I am and she sees her failures, or maybe because I look exactly like my dad and I'm that constant reminder, that is why she does not like me. But what can I say? I didn't have the worst childhood, but I didn't have the best childhood. So I see that as a form of child abuse in the sense that you are forced to become an adult. You have to take on adult stress, adult responsibilities. So I suffered in that way. I felt unwanted, neglected, like the whole works. From both parents. My dad, more so, it was more abandonment. And then when he got remarried, it was more like, okay, I'm the test run child. Now you can go start off your new family. That sort of thing. So, both parents failed. But it is easy to blame the one who was there, to say that they're the only one who messed you up. Though I will have some scars for how I was raised, I have to realize that both parents are responsible. Maybe certain things wouldn't have happened that way if my father took the time to be there. But he wasn't. So, yeah. In the case of my brother, I mean, I've always been envious and maybe a bit resentful in the sense that my parents could care less what he does, really. Like, he went through a phase where he wasn't even home every weekend. Did they care? No. If I'm out past 20 minutes past 8, they're calling. Do they care where he is? No. Do they care what he does? No. Oh, my brother wants something. He gets it. I went without. Anything he needs, he gets. I mean, I love him, and I try. I've always been there for him. I've always wanted to take care of him, but I always complain to my parents, you're crippling him. He doesn't know the meaning of work. I've been working since I was like 13 years old. He hasn't even worked more than a week. He doesn't know what it means because it's just given to him. And my mom has always loved him. He's always the favorite. And the little things you pick up on as a child. Not once has my mom called me daughter and actually sincerely meant it. But with my brother, it's like, oh, my son, my son, my son. I don't know. I mean, doesn't sound like she hates him that much. Like, even though she may say, oh, your dad isn't shit, that doesn't seem to mean anything because she builds him up anyways. I mean, you may say by association. I get that. But you see, the thing is, it can affect the girl too. seeing as I look exactly like my dad, I take it that way. Seeing as I act more like my dad, like she throws it in my face, like, oh, you're just like your father. Like, I can get it too. Just because he's male doesn't mean he's the most like his father. So, I don't know. Not just that, I don't know. My brother, I love him. I don't, the, the way I see it is black women, when it comes to their failures of raising kids, is that they don't want to admit that they failed. They don't like to admit that they messed up. And they take it out on the kids. Like, but that's not just black women. There's a lot of single mothers who are like that. Like, just because... Like, I honestly don't even know what to tell you. Like, they mess up, they take it on somebody who can't fight back. Someone who's supposed to love them unconditionally and someone who cannot leave them. I think that's why they behave the way they do. It's also maybe because they feel like they're stuck with the consequences of their actions, while the man gets to go off and do whatever. My mom always complains. Oh, well, your father doesn't have to deal with this. He has his own family. He's doing this. Like, as a child, that hurts. It makes you feel unwanted on both ends. That one, your mother doesn't want you, that you're some kind of burden, and two, that your dad is free from this burden. But I think more so in the case with the black community, it's because it's a repeated cycle. And I think it's worse for the women nowadays because they realize... Either they realize that was done, what was done to them, and they repeated it. I mean, once you get to that age where you realize your parents aren't perfect, you start to get a fear of becoming like them, or doing what they did wrong. But these women have repeated their parents' mistakes, and I guess they just can't live with the guilt, knowing that they've inflicted that kind of pain on somebody else. Or maybe they just think it's normal. I went through it. Well, what makes this kid any special? And I find a lot of women, single mothers, I've seen it, luckily my mom wasn't one of them, put men before their children. Because their dad wasn't around and they're trying to fill this void, and what happens is they get stabbed in the back. Essentially, they have the relationship they had with their fathers. I mean, it was fun while things lasted, but when things get tough, they leave. So I can see where they're coming from. I can see why it is. It's not justified. I wouldn't say so. Being a child, it's not justified. I try every day to not be my parents' mistakes. But I get it. Now, this is just my opinion. This may not have been the answer you're looking for. This may not have even been the answer to the question that you asked. I can't remember now. It's late at night, but something you said just stuck in my mind, and I felt like I should say something. Because I guess I have the need to say whatever I think at the time. But yeah, that's just how I felt on the topic. As a child, as a female, that is how I felt. And hopefully I will never have to tell you what it's like as a single mother and give you that perspective. But personally, I think single mothers need to get their act together and be responsible. Do not force your child to be the adult in the situation. I know that's tough. I know that requires you to be selfless. And it's hard when you've had nobody care for you. But at least when your kids grow up, they won't grow up to resent you. Yeah. That's all I have to say.